So I'm here at Norwich Fashion Week 2014 and I'm with Kerry, who's the organiser of the whole show.
I'm one of the co-ordinators, yes, and I work on the Norwich Fashion Week board, so vintage feels like my baby this year.
Brilliant. So tell me a bit about, we're just getting, all the models are in, getting ready, it's all beginning to happen, there's a great atmosphere. Tell me a bit about what's going to happen tonight.
Oh, well, I'm glad there's a great atmosphere already, because that's exactly what we want to kind of create. So we've got quite wearable vintage in the clothing. We've got some quite out there avant-garde head designs, but the head designs are all inspired by the designers on 18th century trends and fashion. So it's a real eclectic mix, which is what we really wanted for vintage this year. We wanted to really mix it up. Victory rolls and petticoats have been done, so we wanted to kind of make vintage a little bit more avant-garde, and the Puppet Theatre is the most amazing venue. So theatrical, avant-garde, and hopefully a continued fantastic atmosphere.
So the Vintage Fashion Show is part of Norwich Fashion Week. So I gather that vintage is a really big deal in Norwich. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Vintage is amazingly buoyant in Norwich. We've got a really active social scene, whether that's fashion, whether you like just to go out and dance, whether you just like to enjoy some vintage things, from whether you like to wear a vintage handbag or whether you want to actually live the lifestyle. I do sort of like have moved around the country a little bit work-wise, and I do think that Norwich has got the liveliest, most active, which is a really important thing, scene in the country. I think might be a bit bold to say, but I do think we do take on some of the other bigger cities, and we just do vintage really well.
So what is it about Norwich? Why is it so buzzing with vintage here? What is it? What's going on?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I think with Norwich, we've got 2 universities now. Norwich has always had, from sort of speaking to older generations, quite an undercurrent of kind of different scenes going on. And I think vintage has been made quite mainstream with fashion and musicians such as Paloma Faith, and Vivi Brown kind of introducing vintage into their own style, and I just think it's the mainstream has really made it blow up, and Norwich is a brilliant historic city, so we've got so much to offer.
Brilliant. So tonight, what time does it kick off and who are you expecting to come? How many models? Tell me a bit about the actual show tonight.
Okay, well, doors open at 7 o'clock and anyone who gets here on time for 7 will be greeted by hostesses with trays of shots of our specially made Norwich Fashion Week cocktail, which is called Orange is the New Black. That's been made especially for us by the Norwich Cocktail Club, which creates pop-up cocktail bars around Norwich, so we're big fans. And show time is about 7:30. You know, everything's a guide because we're working with so many different elements. We're aiming for a 7:30 start. And then we're going to have 2 halves, so hopefully that will give a chance to everyone to have a slight breather after the first half, because they will be seeing vintage in a very different way that they might not be expecting. So everyone can come on down to the bar, have a drink, have a chat, and then all back in for the second half, where it all goes a bit more couture with headwear, and we've got some amazing lingerie as well.
Brilliant, thanks Kerry. So just finally, this avant-garde, moving vintage into avant-garde and missing, and this is something completely new, is it? That's a new direction for vintage, and that's something that you're setting here.
It certainly is for Norwich Fashion Week. We've always done brilliant vintage shows. Not every city has such a dedicated vintage scene that we do, but we have 4 main shows in Norwich Fashion Week, and vintage is celebrated right up there along with the retailers and the designers. So yeah, we're taking it to a bolder place than Norwich has ever taken it before. I hope they're ready for it. I think they'll like it. We're really excited about it.
Brilliant, thanks very much Kerry, that's great.